Is screen visible to you? Can you see the screen? Okay, great. So let me open up a notepad. Sorry, not a notepad. Gedit. For that, uh, fine. Okay. So gedit. Uh, gedit. First is there. Second is there. Third is there. And temp is that there. Data input stream. Fine. So let me import io.start, which will bring us the filing io handling package and its classes to my program. Let me create a class port and the usual structure that we need, adding a main method and all. Uh, so what I'll do is I'll create a file called as utf.txt, and I'll use a Unicode text format while writing the data to the file. So I'm naming the file as utf.txt, and this time I'll be using the data output stream class. I'll call it as dout is equal to new data output stream class, and I'll pass the object of if out, right? And like we have used the read method, there is always a parallel method which can write the data to the disk. Now with the dout, there are two methods. One is a write, and there is another method called as write utf. So we will see these both methods, write and write utf. So let's first create the data that we want to write to the disk. Okay, and as remember, this UTF stands for Unicode text format. Unicode text format. So let me create the string that we would like to add or write to the disk. Now, the main thing is we are writing the data in the terms of bytes, as we are using file output stream. As the file input stream is capable of reading the byte by byte data, in the similar way, the file output stream will be able to read data byte by byte, byte by byte. So for that, let me create a byte array. Let me call this byte array as data. And now we have to initialize this byte array with some text that we want to write to the file. So let me create a text. This is, let's say this is UTF coding data for file and bytes is the call that I can use write the data. Dout, which is the object that we can use to write the data to the file. Dout dot write, the method that we can use to write the data to the disk. Now we have seen in the last session, we have seen a method. Let's say I have an object of binary buffered input stream bin. Then we have used a method called as read, which used to take first argument as a array or a buffer, in which we want to read the data. Then from the starting position of the buffer wherein we want to read the data, and then the length of the buffer that we want to read, how much data we want to read. So three arguments we have given to the read method. On the similar grounds, the write method can accept the first argument as the data that actually we want to write to the disk, where the data is starting in the array, and its length. So this call will write the data to the disk, and I'm sure that from the last session you can figure out that I am unless and until we are not going to make this close call, or before making a close call we have to make use of flush call. So either of this call must execute in turn to make sure that the data is getting written on the disk. Otherwise, this data output stream is also a buffer, kind of a buffer, and file output stream is the actual class which is dealing with the disk array. So whether you want to write a data into the disk array, or whether you want to read a data or write a data into the buffer, and then the buffer must write the data into the disk, that we have to follow. Here, dout.write will write the data into the buffer and not on the disk. And if we want to make sure that this data is getting written on the disk from the buffer, then we have to make sure of using dout.flush call if you want to write the data frequently. And if we use execute the dout.close call, this will also force the data from the buffer to be written on the disk. So either of this call is required in the program, right? So I'm using both. Uh, Now let's see whether the program compiles and execute or not. Before compiling, I will add a line throws exception. And as I've discussed many times that this is not recommended, we should properly follow the try catch block. Oh, sorry. So let me compile java c code.java file. Let it compile. Okay, the file compiled. Now if I run java 4, if I press enter, the program has executed, right? Now if I see the content of the file that in which we have written the data is called as the file name is utf.txt. So if I say utf.txt, here you can see the data has been written, right? And we can read the data very easily. Now what we can do is we can actually go on, click on open, and select the document and go to select utf.txt file, and the data is displayed in the perfect manner in which we have written to the disk. In fact, we can go on like add more thing like import java util, and you make use of a scanner class. For example, if I say scanner, and if we create a new object of it, and if I say system dot in, and if we say, let's say what we can say, string message is equal to sc dot next, and then so we will read the line from the keyboard, and once the data is read, what we can do is msg dot get bytes is the call that we can directly execute against the string, and the data will be filled inside the data array. So this is how we can read from the keyboard and put it inside the data byte array and write the data to the disk. So let's try. So the program is compiled. Now this is the data sample, is the line that must go inside the file. Less, this is the data sample, right? So the data has come to the file. Now this is greatly working when we are using the write method. Now there is another method called as write UTF. Let's try the same program. Instead of using dout.write, we will make use of dout.write UTF. So let me make use of that call, dout.write UTF. And now we need to data that we want to write to the disk. Now there is one change. Write method is accepting the byte array and its length from where you want to write the data up to what point you want to write the data. This detail we want to put it inside the byte array, and the byte array will be done by the write method. The write UTF method is capable of handling the string that we want to write to the disk. So here we can directly write the string message, right? So whatever I'll type on the keyboard, that message directly get written to the disk, and you can pass the string argument to the write UTF method. So let's check the execution. What we will do is we will change the output file name from UTF to UTF-1, so we can verify the both output of write. We can compare the output of write method and write UTF method. So earlier I've written the output into the UTF file. Now I'm going to write the output into the UTF-1.txt file. So let's write javac core.java java core, and let me write this is data, or this is UTF write data. Okay, and let me press enter key. Now UTF.txt, it's the data written using the .write method, and let's see the content of UTF-1 file, UTF-1.txt. This data is written using write UTF method. I am sure that you people can see there are two symbols here, the OR operation, then the at the rate, again the OR operation, and the V, and then the actual data that I typed that I wanted to write to the file. Now what is this extra information that is coming, right? So let's open up this file into the gedit. Let me press a quit button here. Now this is the write UTF file. Okay, the content has been modified, utf.txt, and now let me go to the open and select UTF-1 file, other document, and select UTF-1 file. And I am sure that you people are able to see some weird symbols that we can compare with Chinese or some South Asian languages. Uh, can you see the output? Can you see the output of gedit file? Yes. Am I okay? Great. So that is what I said many times in the earlier session, that I will show you that the data in the file will be something, and if we use a different encoding mechanism to write the data, and if we use a different encoding mechanism to read the data, then the data will be read into a wrong format. Now see, the file is very perfect. File is very perfect. There is nothing wrong with the file, because if we still print the file using the less command, you can see that the data is in proper conditioning, right? This is the UTF write data, but when I'm using the your gedit editor to edit the file, you can verify that this some random symbols are coming and getting displayed, and one can see that these are the pretty good equivalent symbols to some Chinese characters or some North Korean, Japanese symbols. For example, this 2 and 3rd. Now what we will do is, uh, I will go to the UTF. Fine, I'll be able to change here, other document, and here at the bottom, I'm very sure that you people are able to see the arrow. The at the bottom here you can see something called as a character encoding, and option is automatically detected. Okay, so I'm going to change this option. Let me pick up the UTF-8. Let me pick up the UTF-8 encoding and open the file. And the file that I want to open is again UTF-1, right? So UTF-1, and this is my UTF-1. Can you see now the data? I need quick responses in the chat box. Can you see the data is read into the correct format? Yeah, great. So let me open up the UTF-1 file with some other encoding mechanism. UTF-1. Oh, sorry, I have to go to here, select other document, select UTF-1, and let me select UTF-16 encoding and click on open. Let me close this. Let me close this. Other document, Can you see the data now coming? This is write, this is UTF write data. Can you see the data? Yeah, great. So see that encoding mechanism currently I'm selecting is UTF-8, and there was a problem opening up the file because encoding mechanism that gedit is trying to apply while selecting the file and the encoding mechanism that I've actually used while writing the data to the disk are mismatching, right? So if I click on retry, the error will come, and if I say edit anyway, I'll be able to edit the file. And there are two symbols, there are two additional symbols which are in the file that are of no use, right? But this symbol is of the encoding mechanism that has been used by Java while writing the data to the disk. But somehow the data is still getting managed to for display. Now, let me close the file and again go and select the UTF-N, and let me select, earlier I've used UTF 8. Now let me select UTF-16 encoding and open up the file. And now here you can see some different symbols coming. So this is what I was saying since the first lecture. Like, what if you are writing the data using 1 byte mechanism and reading the data, you read the data using 2 byte mechanism, or vice versa. Like, you write the data using 2 byte mechanism and you read the data using 1 byte mechanism. Then there are different, definitely the reading problems will appear, right? Are you with me? Do you really got the concept? What will happen if you use the encoding mechanisms which are not what we can say sync with each other? Anyone have a doubt, or do you got the concept? Anyone have a doubt? Okay, great. So let me read this data in the program. Now we are writing the data to the disk. Now we have to read the data back from the disk into the program. So let me create a 5.java file. Let me save this and let me go to the terminal. Click this gedit 5.java or 5.java I should use. So let me open this program and create a program for reading from a file. So public class 5. File input stream, because I'm reading a byte data, I'll still make use of file input stream class, and the file is utf1.txt. So this is the file which have some different symbols, and we are opening the same file with the file input stream. Now I am making a use of extreme character encoding. Like this file is, this class is going to open up the file every time it reads the data from the disk. Still I'm going to make use of it. Here I'll say intc, and I'm sure you are able to recall this program. We have used this, like read, and it will read 1 byte from the file, and I'll say not equal to -1 to detect end of file. So this is a -1 is indicating end of the file. Also, for the handling exception, I will simply say throws exception, and here we'll write a line system.out.println char c. Okay, and then Java 5. Oh, I've used the print ln. I've used print ln. Instead of that, I should use print line or print line. I've used, sorry. Instead of that, I have to use print, simple plain print. Execute. And you can see that the data is still read in a perfect manner, right? So whether I'm using a character format while reading the data or whether I'm using a byte format while reading the data, the program is managing to read the data in a at least get a meaningful data from the file and display it on the screen. So I'm looking at my chat window. No audible. So I'm getting a message from Mansi that I'm not audible. Am I audible to other people? Am I audible? Yes. Okay. Okay. Mansi, I guess you have to check at your end because I think other people are able to hear me. In between, your voice was not audible. Okay, so my voice was breaking. I hope my voice is clear to other participants. Okay, fine. So, any questions so far? Any questions so far? Can we read and write formats such as HE, PNG? Yes, of course. Yeah, if you want to, like, you will not be able to display the file. Uh, Let me go to the open other documents and let me go to the maybe my pictures directory. I have kind of a screenshot. I don't know what this screenshot is, but if I try to open this in a notepad file, this is the png, right? This is the png file. If I try to open it as in a plain text, it will take some time, but you will see so many random symbols. Yeah, now why this is happening is because my file is in a png format. I'm trying to open the file using a text encoding, which is not a correct idea, right? So let's write a program. Let's create a program. Now, what was the name of the file? Let me go to that. So here must be a screenshot from my trading account. So obviously, what I can do is, not going to pick that one. Let me create a new snapshot of this blank desktop of the program. And yeah, so this is the file that I'll copy, right? So this is the PNG file. And what we will do is we will rename this file as, we will copy the file into the program directory rather than going and setting up the path and all doing all story. I'll go to the Java directory and paste this PNG file here. the name as b.png, right? And we are not supposed to display anything now. What I'll do is fout.write, and in the write I will write the data that I want to write, and then find.close, fout.close. So we are creating a replica of a.png. Let me go to the terminal and compile this. Java C, the name of the program is 5, I guess, 5.java, and then Java 5. So here you can see that b.png file created. I hope you people saw this. I'll delete it. So look at this UI. As soon as I execute the program, here b.png file got added. Now if I open this file, it will be the same picture, right? So you can open up anything using a byte encoding. If it's a binary file, you can absolutely copy any kind of format file. Have I answered your question, Harshit? Yeah, great. So any other questions so far? Any other question? I guess there are some questions here. Okay, bye. I think there are no more questions. So first of all, I raised one question in the last session, right? So I'm using a Debian system, so I'm not able to create a poll because I still have a missing plugin. I will make sure that I'll get that plugin in Ubuntu, or I'll next time I'll be conducting using my Windows PC rather than using Ubuntu. So till that moment, the question is, uh, why we are able to use, like, I used a different encoding mechanism while writing the file. I used a write UTF mechanism while writing the data, and while reading the data, I opened up the file using the file input stream mechanism as well as file reader mechanism. And the main difference between file input stream is and file writer is, file input stream reads the data byte by byte, whereas file reader reads the data character by character. So that is a major difference. But still, Java somehow managed to read the data and interpret it and display this data on the screen. So the question here is, Java, in the features of Java, you have learned about something called as Java supports Unicode text format. That this statement I used in very early lectures. Like Java, one of the feature of Java language is it can. Am I audible? Okay. So the question that I wanted to, okay, so what I was saying is, like, I've shown you how you can use different encoding mechanisms while writing the data. We have seen Chinese and Japanese, South Korean or whatever it has characters on the screen, whereas we have written the plain text data in the file, but the data read in some different format, which is not used by us, which we haven't written, but somehow the data got misrepresented, I can say. So my question is, why? What do you think? Why Java is supporting this Unicode text format? What could be the reason behind Java is supporting different characters and Like gedit is a completely different program, but it showed the output. If I select some UTF-8 encoding, then the English characters were getting displayed. If I use UTF-16 encoding or the Western encoding, if I select, the output format or the data which is getting displayed will change. So can anyone explain me why Java is supporting this different encoding mechanisms while reading and writing the data? You can unmute yourself or you can post your answer in chat box. But this is the question again. What has happened is again I'm using Debian system today, and I was not able to manage. I wasn't able to install plugin of conducting poll in my Debian system for WebEx. So again, I have to ask this question to you people, and then you have to respond it in the chat window, or somebody can unmute and give the answer. So this is the question for you. What do you think? Why Java is supporting these different encoding mechanisms? What could be the reason? We have just seen that Java is supporting different encoding mechanisms. Broader support is the answer by Harshit. Harshit, can you unmute or can you type a bit more brief answer, detailed one, maybe short but a bit more details. Anyone else? Some regions might be using other formats. Okay. What do you mean by other format? Encoding mechanisms, UTF encoding mechanisms? Yeah, okay. So let's see what I really wanted to share. Any other answer before proceeding apart from Harshit's answer? Any other answer? Okay. So I waited for almost 20-30 seconds and there is no message on the chat, also no audio. So let me explain why. So let me create a blank file here. Let's assume that you people have only 4 digits. Am I audible right now? Yeah, okay, fine. So let's open up, let's go to the gedit file, and let's say we people have only 4 digits available with us, and we want to use this four digits encoding mechanism to write and read the data. Now, as an you people have heard about ASCII, American Standard Code for Information Interchange, and all, Unicode text format. So these are the encoding mechanisms. So what is this encoding mechanism, like ASCII coding or UTF coding or ISO coding? So this coding mechanisms means these people are deciding that if you receive four consecutive digits and there is a particular pattern, then what is the meaning of that particular pattern? What symbol you want to get displayed on the screen, or how you interpret that particular code. For example, let's assume that we have only 4 bits with us, and I see that if this 4 bits are coming as all zeros, then I'll say that this is A. One of this digit is 1, then I'll say that this is B. Then next digit 0010 is coming, then I'll call it as C. Now 0011, I'll call it as D. 0100 E. 0101 F. 0110 sorry, 10. Now what? We have represented all the characters that we can, or we have used all the digits that we have with the 4-bit system, and the maximum data that we can represent is starting with the capital character A up to capital character P. After this, we are not able to represent any other character. Now what you have to do to overcome this limitation? Just add one more bit. Now if you add one more bit to this particular set, which is MSB, most significant bit, and now what we can do is we can MSB, the newly added MSB to 1 and the rest of the 4 digits to 0. Then we can add a new character, and now I can proceed on adding new characters, right? So when you have one digit, you can represent two symbols. When you have two digits, you can represent four symbols. When you can have three digits, you can represent eight symbols. 4, 16. Now I have 5 digits and I'm able to represent 32 characters. So I'll be able to represent all my capital characters, capital alphabets, including I display like 26 characters are there in the capital letters. So 32. So I'll still able to display after displaying all capital characters. I'll be left with 6 positions, so I can represent 0 to 5 numbers. And if I make it 6, then I'll be able to accommodate 64 different characters, right? So if you want to represent some more information, you have to go on adding the values to your encoding mechanism. Now when you have 8 bits of data, 0 0 0 0 0 0 0, you can represent this different number of symbols, which are 255. You can accommodate 255 different symbols, and you change one digit out of this 8-bit encoding, you will be representing a different symbol. Now what if you add 8 more digits? Now I have 8 more digits, right? So now you have a huge range available for you people. Like you can represent these many characters using your encoding mechanism. So your encoding table becomes rich. So UTF-8, imagine now if you are using UTF-8 encoding, you will be like you have picked many symbols to represent Marathi language, or you want to represent Marathi Devanagari Lipi in your computer. Then you can use this buffer of 8 newly added digits, right? And add create symbols for Marathi languages. Now in the same term, if you want to represent some Chinese symbols, then still you can use this extra buffer which is available to represent Chinese symbols. So this UTF-8 encoding, which is a standard, it have different standards like UTF-8, which uses 8-bit encoding mechanism. Then you have UTF-16, which have encoding mechanism. Then you have UTF-32, which uses a 32-bit encoding mechanism. So you go on adding a bit, you simply double the number of available character representations or encoding positions that are available. So now 255 with the 8 digits, you had 255. As soon as you add 9th digit, it becomes 512. You add one more digit, the available character set becomes 124. So you go by the time of 16 digits, you will have those many big number of character sets available to you, and you can represent vast range of characters from the world. So this UTF encoding is like registered in the world, and different people, different countries are using some standard codings from this UTF-16, UTF-8 encoding to represent their symbols. So if somehow by mistake you go cross the boundary and you read the data in a misinterpreted terms, then you will get a different symbol from the computer. For example, what I really wanted to say is, let's assume that 1111 is 4 digits, 1111. Now it's 8-digit data, and suppose assume, I'm not saying this represents, assume that this represents T, this represents T. So you are reading one byte at a time to read the data from the disk, but followed by this is again let's say this is 110 and this represent H, and this is the word that TH is the first two characters from the word this. But while reading, you read all 16 characters in one go. 1111, 1111, 1111, 10. So I hope these are 16 characters like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So now if you read the 16 characters, I'm very sure that this is not T and H. This is something different. Now let's assume this code 15 ones and 0 is used by Japan to represent one of its symbol. Then obviously what will happen is you are trying to read T and H from your disk, but as this is the symbol of 16-bit and this has been used by one of the Asian countries to represent its own symbol, you will see some different symbol on the screen, and that is what exactly has happened. So this is some English character, but as we are reading some wrong number of bits from our encoding mechanism, the symbol generated by the computer is totally different, and we are not getting what we are expecting on the screen. Whether the data is corrupt? No, data is still intact, data is still perfect. You can use a proper encoding mechanism and the data will be retrieved in a correct and perfect manner. Right now, the mistake is that we are using the one encoding mechanism while writing the data, and while reading the data, I am using a different encoding mechanism. So this was discussed in the very first lecture when we started IO. Like if a program which is writing on the disk and the program which is reading on the disk are not using the same format while reading and writing, the data representation will go wrong. Is concept is very clear? Or any other doubt? Okay. So let me explain what is the assignment that will be appeared today on the Moodle. Develop a command which will display the content of existing file, and it will ask user whether you want to continue or not. So what I'm expecting is, so I'll show you what I really want from the program. So let's assume that the program is under execution. This is the program which is under execution. Its name, it has some name, right? So let's say this is ex1 is the name of the program, and the prompt is executing. So it will say, what it will do is, this is kit coek, or let's say this is sample data. So this is the data in the file. This is the data in the file. So the program has read the complete file and displayed on the screen. Now here is the catch. Right now I've taught you people how to read a file one by one, line by line. So what I want is, I want people to display the file on the screen as it is. For example, if there is an enter in this file, then your program must display this enter, and the next line will be displayed on the next line. And let's say on the next line we have said the file is finished. Now this is the end of the data, so it must be displayed on the screen. After displaying the content, the program is going to ask you the question, and the question is, do you want to add data to file? And then question mark. Then the option is whether yes or no. So here the user is supposed to type yes. If user says yes, a blank prompt will come. Whatever you type, this is new text, right? This is new text. And if I press enter, the blank line must be added. And let's say this is second line of new text, right? Now I'm adding two separate lines. The first line says this is new text, and the second line says this is the second line of new text. On the new line, I'll type only one word, which is finish. Fine. Or you have to pick up your own style of completing the code. You may type even exit. So you have to pick up the code whether you want to type exit or finish. As soon as you type exit or finish, the word that you pick up and press enter, then program must terminate. And now if I, let's say, open up this sample file, let's say the file name was sample.txt. Now if I open up this sample.txt file, the sample.txt file must have these two lines as usual. Apart from these two lines, the sample file must have the newly added data to it, right? Now, what if you provided a file name which is not existing? Let's say while executing the program, new file name, which is, let's say, demo.txt. Then your program must warn that the file is not present on the disk. Do you want to create it? And if user, again, this question has to come in yes and no. If user select yes, then you must create a blank new file called as demo.txt, and then the prompt should begin, in which user can type the data. And if user type finish or exit on the new line, the data must be saved to the disk. So this is the new task. Is it clear to you? Is the task is clear to you? Yes. Okay. Now here is the catch. Here is the catch. One more. So in Java, we have different mechanisms, encoding mechanisms. Like uh, there are classes called as buffered input stream. There is a buffered output stream. There is a print writer. There is a file, not print, a file reader. There is a print writer. Then there is a data input stream, data output stream. Then there is a file reader class will go with the print writer, buffered reader, buffered writer, and so on. So what will happen is I'll put some formula in the assignment. For example, formula could be, let's say this is 1, this set is called as 1. Then the next set I'll call it as 2, right? This set becomes 2. Then this becomes set number 3. This becomes set number 4. So I will ask you, I haven't decided the formula, but the formula could be something like this. Take your date of birth. For example, my date of birth is 29. So I have to divide this 29 with 4. Divide this 29 with 4. Whatever remainder comes, you have to pick up that remainder for picking up the statement. So let's say 29 divided by 4 will leave me with the value with 1, right? So I have to go with buffered input stream class. Buffered input stream class. Sure. If let's say the remainder comes as 2, then you have to select print writer class for writing the data. Let's say your remainder becomes 3rd, then you have to use data input stream and data output stream while coding the program. So this kind of formula will come. Depending on the formula, you have to use a different file reading writing buffer mechanism and use it for reading and writing data to and from file. Is the task is clear to you? Anyone have a doubt? Yeah, okay. Any questions on the file handling? There is one more session remaining. I have to conduct one more session, but meantime we can start with writing this assignment. You will find this assignment shortly on Moodle, and you can start programming it. So in the next session, I'm going to teach you how to navigate between the file. You have already done this many times in C and C++, so it's not a new thing. You will learn how to change the file directly. So instead of, like, say you are inside a file and you have already read the file up to the second line or the up to the third line. Now you want to go back altogether to the start of the file. So there is a seek positions in Java also. So in the next session we will concentrate on learning how to seek the position in a file. Is it okay? Is it okay? Yeah, okay. So we can end the session here. See you in the next session. And meantime, you should start coding the file handling assignment.